The House of Slaves, Maison des Esclaves, with its door of no return on Gorée Island, 3 kilometers off the coast of Dakar, Senegal, is a museum and memorial to the victims of the Atlantic slave trade. Its museum, which opened in 1962 and was managed until Boubacar Joseph Ndiaye's death in 2009, is believed to commemorate the slaves' final leaving point from Africa. While historians disagree on the number of African slaves held in this building, as well as the relative importance of Gorée Island as a point on the Atlantic slave trade, visitors from Africa, Europe, and the Americas continue to make it an important place to remember the human toll of African slavery. Following its completion in 1776, the House of Slaves became a holding facility for enslaved Africans destined for export. The house was held by Anne Pepin, an Afro-French lady who owned numerous ships and was involved in the slave trade. The conditions in the structure were dreadful, with many of the imprisoned dying before reaching the ships. Enslaved persons who were captured were imprisoned in dark, airless cells and spent days shackled to the floor, their backs against the walls, unable to move. 3. Families were divided both inside the house, with men, women, and children kept in different apartments, and after boarding the ships because the majority of them were not transferred to the same areas. 3 young females in particular were separated from the boys. The remainder of the imprisoned were paraded in the courtyard so that the traders and enslavers could choose them for sex. If pregnant, they were permitted to stay on the island until they gave birth. 3. The House of Slaves, which was converted into a museum and monument in 1962, today stands as a tribute to the human misery and destruction inflicted by the slave trade. The House of Slaves was rebuilt and inaugurated as a museum in 1962, thanks mainly to the efforts of Boubacar Joseph Ndiaye, 1922 to 2009. 4. Ndiaye supported both the memorial and the claim that enslaved persons were detained in large numbers in the structure and transferred directly to the Americas. 2nd, Ndiaye, who eventually became curator of the museum, said that over 1 million enslaved persons walked through the house's doors. This idea has made the mansion a tourist attraction, as well as the location of state visits to Senegal by foreign leaders. Since the 1980s, researchers have discounted Gorée's involvement in the Atlantic slave trade.